Okay, let me make sure my volume is up here. Okay, so hi, I'm Jan Erickson. I'm from Stepping Aside. I write the blog Stepping Aside, and it's let's do a little room magic today. I like doing sigil magic. I have a video that's trying to process right now that I did a couple days ago, but it's still trying to process. I finally got it to upload though, so I'm in that second stage now, so maybe, I don't know, it might come up. Otherwise, I'm going to have to redo it on a streaming thing, I guess. Probably everybody's trying to upload a lot right now with all the stuff going on. So anyway, I like using runes. I've been using runes for, well, I'm really old, so I've been using runes for pretty much all my life, so maybe for 50 years. And yeah, I'm older than that. So anyway, runes are cool. A lot of different kinds. The Elder Futhark is the one that I use. It's a set of 24 runes given to Odin by the Norns of Fate when he hung upside down from the world tree to receive some enlightenment. Lost an eye in the process. Anyway, I like that they can be used for divination. I like that they can be used just for magic. I like to create bind runes because they bring all those individual influences together into something greater for a specific purpose. So they can be used a lot of different ways. We see examples of bind runes, one in particular with our Bluetooth symbol, Harold Bluetooth Gormson. Anyway, he was a Danish king, and that's actually, I believe it's a bind rune of his name, the actual Bluetooth symbol that we see. He's actually an ancestor of mine, so it was kind of interesting to find that out. But in any event, let's get going on this. I wanted to do one for healing. We've had a lot of tragedy here last week happen, and no matter where you come down on that whole issue of gun violence, I'm a grandmother, so I think you can pretty well figure out where I come down on it. But in any event, I wanted to do something to create some kind of a sigil to create some healing for folks right now. This is my rune bag, and I've already drawn the runes. My process when I draw runes for a bind rune, some people will take a look at them and decide, okay, I want to use these particular ones, and that's sure, you can do that. That's fine. That works well. I kind of like to draw them and let the runes decide what who wants to go into the bind rune today. So, and that's my process. So that's how I do it. And so what I drew first, and we'll go over these as soon as I show you what they are. The first one, let's see if you can see this. Get this around here with my right hand. All right, I'm still not very good at this, so. All right, this is Birkenau. That's the first one. The second one I drew, Allies. And the third one I drew, Sowilla, or Sowio, however you say it. And then the last one I drew, which is one of my favorite ones, is Perthro. Perthro is a cool rune. Represents the well of word. We'll get into that in a minute. So let's start with Birkenau. Of course, I wrote all this out because, Anyway, Birkenau is the 18th rune of the Elder Futhark. Numerologically, it's a 9, or completion. But we begin the whole process with our Earth Mother rune. Birkenau is a Earth rune. There's elements attached with each rune and numerology with each rune, so we'll talk about that. But this is an Earth rune. It represents Gaia, or Mother. It represents fertility, protection, new beginnings, We can chant or vibrate it to feel calm. Sometimes when it comes up in a reading, it can mean that a child's going to be born, particularly with birth row here. So that would be cool, you know. Another grandchild would be nice. But basically, it's a nice place to start for a healing bindrune. The next one, Alyi's. I'll try to do that again. Alyi's. Alyi's is the 15th rune of the Elder Futhark, and it's an interesting one because it kind of looks like a set of antlers, right? It kind of represents the elk and protection, and but it also incorporates air, fire, and water. And air, fire, and water, because it's representing the connection between spirit and form, so between non-physical aspect of self and physical aspect of self. We have it's also, because of that aspect, I'm trying to get this into my head right, because of, I don't want to repeat myself, because of the whole notion of the connection between non-physical and physical form, they kind of call that sometimes the Bifrost Bridge connection or the Rainbow Bridge connection. It's basically our connection to higher self energies. And its numerology, of course, being the 15th rune, is 6, which aligns then with the sacred layer of self or the spirit layer of self. So Alyi's, when it appears, we're really talking about our higher self that's coming into play. So in a healing bindrune, that's of course I mean, healing begins in spirit. Everything is a projection of thought. So our true healing begins in alignment with spirit. So it's awesome that this actually came out today. The next one, Sawillo. Well, and we drop it on the floor because that's what I do. Anyway, here we go. Sawillo is a fire rune. It's the rune of will. It's also the rune of this higher self. So I'm really hitting the mother lode today with higher self runes in this whole bindrune. But it's a 7 numerology. It's 16th rune, so 6 and 1 is 7. That's a 7. So it's the number of magic. It's the number of intuition, wholeness, divinity. It can also mean the shadow side of self. It's an interesting number because you've got 3 on each side of the 1. So you've got, you know, it in my view, it represents Libra or the scales. So to me, 7 is the ultimate number for balance spiritually. You're balancing, you know, in the in-between between physical and non-physical aspects of self, and basically you're holding that balance. So in terms of healing, you know, that's also going to be useful. Sawillo itself brings self-confidence as the rune of will. Also, it illuminates, being a fire rune, so it brings clarity to a situation. Lastly, we've got Perthrow, which, depending on how this thing falls in a reading, I'm not really so much about directionality unless it's in terms of a bind rune. But if it's turned to the right, then, I don't know if it's turned to the right there, but anyway, if it's turned to the right, then it means birth. If it's turned to the left, it means death. If it's, I like to use it in terms of spirit. I like to have it going upwards. It basically represents the womb. But Perthrow is essentially the mystery or the fate rune. It represents the 3 Norns of fate, deciding the outcome of men's deeds and desires and all of that. It represents the unknown, the birth of something new, chance. It represents the cup from which dice are taught. It represents the well of word from which, you know, all knowledge is pulled. So as the 14th rune, 1 and 4 is 5, so 5 numerology represents change. So we're hoping that we can effect some change here with this bind rune so that people can transmute their sorrow and their sadness into something that can bring about some change. So what I'm going to do here first, I'm going to draw it out on a piece of paper. I'm going to use some parchment, and I'm going to put my glasses on to do it so I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to start with Perthrow on the bottom and have it go upward and point upward. So we're going to have it like that. Shows you I'm not very good at drawing. But anyway, I get my angles wrong on these things all the time. And then from there, I think I'm going to come up from the center of it with all ye's, because we want to have our connection with spirit established right off the bat. There. Okay. And then from there, I'm going to bring that right hand portion of all ye's, and I'm going to add Sawillo to it, because that's what you really want to do. You want to try to connect these things together so that you get the influences all together. Oh, wait a minute, come back up there. There we go. See how I did that? I just drew that way. Very rudimentary, I might add. So now we need to come up with Birkenau. And so I'm going to actually kind of do it a little differently here. I'm going to okay, what I did here is, you see, I took and I drew a line from the top, from the middle line of all ye's down to the to this branch right here. Oh, it's so weird. And then I extended this other part of it down on this left side here, and I drew it down to here. And so now you can see Birkenau there. So you can actually see all ye's, you can see Perthrow, you can see Sawillo, and you can see Birkenau. And you can see how those things combine together into a bind rune. Bind runes can be carried, they can be worn, they can be made into a talisman. I like to make them into, you know, smaller, well, a little bit bigger than the runes. I mean, there's one there. So it's actually pretty small. It's about the size of the runes. But I like to have bigger ones too. Let's see, where do I have one? Here's a little bit bigger one of one I did. I like that one really well. But what I like to do, I like to use different types of wood. My rune, these particular rune set is made from hawthorn. My husband very nicely goes and cuts these things for me, and then I burn them. And I have a lot of different ones. We have a lot of different trees on our property, and so, but the hawthorn is a witch tree and a fairy tree, so it's special. But I like juniper. We've got a lot of juniper. We live on the high desert, and juniper is just the indigenous tree of Central Oregon. So, and I just love it. It's a magical tree. But I've done runes out of them, and I do altar tiles. Anyway, I drew this before I started the stream. And so here's your bind rune. This is just done in ink. Eventually here today, I'll go ahead and burn it in. But when you do this, you can then, hold it in your hand, and it's called blessing and consecrating the bind rune. And you would, at that point, be able to use it however you want. Again, the whole idea is to bring these energies together into a design that you can then cast that intention to the universe. And in this case, it's healing. My heart goes out to the families. I don't even know what to say, really, that we're still here dealing with this. Our solution was to homeschool. We just decided that it was not a safe environment, and we felt that their education would be better served at home, and and it was, and they did well in college and are doing well now in life. Lots of ways to educate. Doesn't have to be the conventional way, but a school is an incredible place. You have friends, you learn, you create your future there. No child should have to worry if they're going to come home. No parent should have to worry if their kids are going to come home. This is simple, folks, and we can figure this out. So let's do that. So hopefully that other one will process, and we'll see a little planetary sigil magic for healing. So, but if not, at least we have this. So anyway, try to have a good day. It's snowing on the high desert. Hopefully this is the last of it. Winter finally decided to come. But anyway, have a little peace today. Blessings.